Yo, what's going on, guys? And in a shocking, not really shocking, the season isn't going as planned for the Pelicans. And the report that's coming out, there might be a willingness to trade Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III. Obviously, for the right price, but we all know that those two would have a market that commands a reasonable price tag of compensation for a team like the Pelicans that, after trading away that pick to acquire Derek Queen, who Derek Queen looks great, so does Jeremiah Fears, as potential pillars for the future of this team. If they do a retooling, they need assets to be able to do said retooling. So, with all that being said, let's get right into today's report and discuss what is being said. That this is also coming out, to give credit, Jake Fischer through Bleacher Report, and he's saying that you can be rest assured the Pelicans will be listening to the trade offers for Zion Williamson, but that they're also going to be at least showing some willingness to listen on the Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. These are guys that are going to have a lot of interest and under $30 million annual contracts, which is a big thing for, the ongoing market, as someone like Herb Jones having just signed a 3-year, $68 million deal, and then Trey Murphy signed that 4-year, 112. That's like really good value. And they're going to be asking for multiple firsts for Trey Murphy, at least one first, maybe two firsts for Herb Jones, who the Pelicans not having a first round pick in 2026. They made it pretty clear that they're moving with the direction of building around Jeremiah Fears and Trey Murphy, which I think at this point is the smart move. And it's kind of weird saying that's smart with Joe Dumars. No offense to Joe Dumars and anybody who's an acolyte of Joe Dumars. If there are, I guess Troy Weaver is a Joe Dumars acolyte. But, and what's crazy is Joe Dumars, I guess he's technically the guy who built the 04 championship team, right? And Lawrence Franks was Joe Dumars' head coach. One of the last times Joe Dumars was an executive. How do you guys feel about that? Either way, let's just move ahead. What teams could get Trey Murphy and Herb Jones? And obviously Trey Murphy's has a higher ceiling as in terms of like impact than Herb Jones. I mean, Herb Jones is a guy that's one of the best defenders in the league and is an improving playmaker. I know, like, he's not healthy right now, and so far this season he isn't scoring as much as he has previously, but this is a guy who's like 11 points, 4 rebounds, just under 3 assists, a block and a steal a night. And really, the first 2 years when he was fully healthy, he was a guy playing like 70 games a year. Now, the last 2 seasons has been a different case, and he's still just super impactful and someone that a team like the Pelicans could capitalize by moving. Now, Trey Murphy this year, another guy that also, because the Pelicans have like been weirdly, I don't know if they've just been shutting him down in 21 games so far though this year. In the last 2 years, he's played under 60 games. Before, he had played 79 in his second season. But this year, again, he's a 20-point per game scorer, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and just someone who could be a fringe all-star. So what are some teams that may be interested in acquiring either Herb Jones or Trey Murphy? Man, like, asset-wise, it becomes hard, but like Chicago, either one. I think obviously they would like Trey Murphy, but I think Herb Jones is someone that defensively they would probably see as maybe someone who could be a safety valve or a stopgap for helping shoring up the perimeter. Milwaukee, if they could somehow turn Kyle Kuzma into Trey Murphy, or even Herb Jones or somebody else, one of their other contracts like Kevin Porter with a Bobby Portis, gets you to like almost $20 million of tradable salary. So if you could package those two into somebody, that could be really useful. Or something along the lines. And we know the Lakers have allegedly been interested in both of them. So to me, I think that's just something to keep your eyes out for a team like the Lakers. I mean, the Clippers, they don't have the assets to do it. Or I don't know what the asset would be to convince them, because they don't have the picks to do it. But they would also be a landing spot that would have interest in a Herb Jones or a Trey Murphy. The Portland Trailblazers have some interesting pieces and the draft assets in theory to swing a trade, and Trey Murphy and Herb Jones does fit. One of them does fit alongside Tamani Kamara and Denny Avdia, and maybe in a world where a Shaedon Sharpe or a Scoot Henderson ends up getting moved, you could see something like that. Now, what if Boston's trying to reload? Would they think we trade an Anthony Simons expiring contract with a draft pick to take on a Trey Murphy, because we feel like Trey Murphy would be perfect as the third catalyst next to a Jaylen Brown and a healthy Jason Tatum? Maybe. Like, that's very much a possibility, and I think that's really interesting, because the way I see it is I would go ahead and try to put myself in the position of a team that is either looking for a third star or a third guy, like the Memphis Grizzlies. Could they churn one of these extra contracts that they have, like a Contavious Caldwell-Pope and these picks that they got from the Orlando Magic, into either one of these players? Maybe. Or Brandon Clark. You get what I'm saying? Maybe the Spurs see Trey Murphy and they're like Keldon Johnson and Jeremy Sohan and draft assets for Trey Murphy, and now they have Trey Murphy with Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. Like, that's pretty freaking crazy in the rest of the squad. I think those are the things that you might be looking around. Or, I mean, what if the Suns see if they can flip Jalen Green, who, he hasn't played, into Trey Murphy, which I think is the biggest thing that they're trying to see, that the Suns are a team better than people expect now. I feel like Trey Murphy is someone that fits. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think the teams that are there are teams that they have an extra salary to make the deal, especially expiring salary, because that's what it would interest the Pelicans. You want to, because I think really, if you don't have a draft asset to compensate for it, maybe for example, for a Herb Jones, you can convince the Pelicans to give you Herb Jones if you give an expiring contract with a young player, the young player being someone that's a trade sweetener. And I think those kind of deals could be what ends up being beneficial for the Pelicans. That I think Herb Jones, obviously, I think you should get one first round pick or like a former lottery pick player if you're not going to get a first round pick. I think, Trey Murphy, you should be getting 2 first round picks for a guy of that caliber. And I wouldn't be surprised if either player gets traded to a team that is maybe not in the content, like I said, maybe an Indiana Pacers or a Boston Celtics type of squad. Maybe a Hawks school, like before I get to the Hawks, but like a Boston or Indiana Pacers that they're a year away from contending, but they make this move because they believe that when fully healthy, either Trey Murphy or Herb Jones is going to be a huge piece for them. And it's like a preemptive move where they're going to get them now. Maybe you have a team where the Hawks, they feel like they should push the chips to the middle. Maybe it's a Detroit Pistons where they feel like they should push the chips to the middle, and they have like a Jaden Ivey, and they use Tobias Harris or somebody to push that to get them to the ability to get this trade done. I think those are two things that are like the type of deals that you could see get done. I don't know. That's it for me. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. But peace out.